I hold in my hand a beer from a 670-year-old brewery. Today, we're going to be talking about the joy of German lagers.
And we're going to be sharing some news you can use about how to survive your next beer festival.
She's Marnie Old, I'm Glen Macnow. We're at Conshohocken Brewing in King of Prussia for a new episode of What's Brewing.
What's Brewing is brought to you in part by Monco Maker's Passport. Download your free digital pass and sip your way through Montgomery County. By the Conshohocken Brewing Company, featuring 4 locations and available at beer retailers throughout the tri-state area. By Visit Bucks County. Travel the Bucks County Ale Trail. Get your passport at visitbuckscounty.com. And by support from the Pennsylvania Malt and Brewed Beverage Industry Promotion Board and grant funding from the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board.
Hi, I'm Glen Macnow. Welcome to What's Brewing. My co-host today, Marnie Old. Marnie is a wine sommelier and an author on both wine and beer. Thanks for joining us today. And also the host of Beer Fest. We're going to get to that in a second. But we start today with German lagers because, well, that's a style you like. What is it so much that you love about German lagers?
You know, I think it's that I have a relatively low tolerance for alcohol, Glenn. Okay. And so I prefer to drink styles where it's not one and done, where I can actually have a couple different beers at a relatively modest alcoholic strength and enjoy myself.
Well, I admire that. All right, so I brought you, I'm very proud of this. This is the J.W. Augustiner Braumünchen Edelstoff. I hope I got that right.
It's a great beer.
It's a great name for a beer, certainly. This comes from a 670-year-old brewery and tavern founded on the site of a monastery known for its Oktoberfest beers. Here you go.
Well, the Belgians do not have a monopoly on monasteries that brew. I'll tell you, there's a lot of them in Germany.
And I like this. 5.7% alcohol. It's a Helles. It's crisp. It's refreshing.
Absolutely.
Nice light color. So how about that? 670-year-old.
It's pretty awesome, but I got to tell you, I've went up to here just a little bit. Just a little bit, because the beer I brought for you, I actually have 2 different packages. It's the same beer in 2 different formats, but it's from Weihenstephaner, which will be celebrating its 1,000th year of continuous brewing in the year 2040. So this is actually a beer that you definitely want to try. It's also a German lager. It's also a Helles, meaning pale, and it's really iconic in the sense that not only is this a beer that brewers have been imitating and trying to capture the beautiful, crisp, refreshing balance for years, but Weihenstephaner is also the site. It's part of the Technical University at Munich. It is owned by the state government as a national treasure. This is Germany's finest brewing school.
Again, nice, crisp, light. You're right. Now, clean, very clean. Now, when a lot of people think of lagers, they, like my friend Jody Mack, who we had the show a couple weeks ago, think, oh, you're talking about Budweiser, you're talking about PBR, you're talking about that American lager, that inoffensive, easy to drink American lager.
Sure.
Much more complex than that.
Absolutely. Well, this is more structured. It's all barley malt, so you have a lot more structural integrity in the beer, but there's a crispness, a cleanness in the finish where you're really only tasting the malt and a little bit of hop. You're not getting any of the funky, estery, strange, cheesy kinds of flavors of fermentation that you more often see in ales, because ales are fermented warmer. Cold fermentation keeps lagers tasting like they're pure ingredients without adding that layer of funk.
But you got dark lagers, you got Mexican lagers, which we feature, you have all styles of lager.
And this is because, so in the world of beer, there are ales and lagers, and that refers to the type of yeast used to produce them. Now, lagers are the single most popular style on earth. Every country has a beer, as Frank Zappa so memorably said, right? And every beer that every country has,
like that.
They're all pale lagers. I mean, think about it. Whether you're drinking PBR or Budweiser, whether you're drinking Stella, it's from Belgium, but it's a German style lager made in a style that was innovated in Germany. with the first lager yeast brewing starting in the 1500s.
Okay, you brought a couple others that you like. Let's show them to the audience. I did as well.
Well, this one's my husband's favorite. It's called Jaeger, and this is the most bitter Pilsner you can find. If you are a hop fanatic, and I know you like your IPAs, you got to try this one too.
I do.
So
I
this
came
one,
into the show drinking our MC5 IPA, which is my favorite, but yes. So this is a lager, but it's going to have...
It's a lager that has more bittering hops, and in Germany they refer to that style as Pilsner, which you've probably heard of before.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
So lagers
like
that are
that
golden lagers are more malty, whereas Pilsners have a little more of that bitter bite that makes you hungrier and thirstier, which is why it's there.
All right, what else you got to show?
Well, there's a whole bunch of others here. Daub is a favorite of mine too. If you're looking for a value-oriented 16-ounce can, it's hard to beat the good German purity that you get with Daub
You
Export.
don't have to open them all.
Well, this one is a little, it's kind of like the Edelstoff in the sense that it is brewed like a traditional German Helles, but to a slightly higher alcoholic strength to help it survive the shipping to export countries like ours.
Okay, so I brought a couple of ones from Germany. This is Paulaner München Lager, right? A popular one. This big baby is the Kloster Andex, if I pronounce it rightly, made from 1455, not as old as your 1,000 years. And you can get these things, some local brewers have really got into it. We did some shows last year at Von C Brewing. They make terrific stuff. This is their Helles, their golden lager. And also Workhorse Brewing, I think we did a show there as well. This is their golden lager, so all kinds of these.
Well, and pretty much everyone who makes beer loves lager on some level, or else they wouldn't be a brewer. But here in Pennsylvania, we have a unique tilt towards German styles because this was the portal for German immigration to the United States for over 400 years. That's one of the reasons we organized that beer fest I was telling you about.
And we will get into that. By the way, that's why they call it Germantown. Real quickly, some bad news and some interesting news. The disappointing news, Kelly Green Brewing in Gloucester County closed the doors after 7 years. And some numbers, a colleague of yours in the Philadelphia Inquirer recently had a piece that was pretty impressive. Harold Brubaker said the 5 counties of southeastern Pennsylvania now have 131 breweries, up from 68 in 2017. South Jersey, 38, up from 20. What does it mean?
This is telling us that in the COVID era, people were concepting where they wanted to go with their lives, and they decided that a life built around beer made sense to them. This is also in part because there just has been modernization and a growing awareness that locally produced beer can be better because it doesn't travel as far and it tastes better fresher.
Indeed it does. I can attest to that. So, as Marnie said, she recently hosted a beer festival. The season is coming up. We're going to give you some do's and don'ts, how to enjoy it more. We are at Conshohocken Brewing in King of Prussia, where I am enjoying, well, it's not a lager, but it's a hazy IPA on What's Brewing.
So we went to this place called Bucks County for vacation. There was so much to do. We played games, rode on a train, and visited Kids Castle. I went on rides, water slides, and got to hang with Elmo at Sesame Place. We hiked to this huge boulder field called Ringing Rocks. Oh, and I got to meet a pilot. That was so cool. You gotta go.
Hey, welcome back to What's Brewing. I'm Glen Macnow, joined by wine and beer authority, Marnie Old. What are you drinking here?
I'm drinking some Berliner Weisse, but it's called Philly Weiss, and it's made with blueberries.
Okay, and I've got the day beer. This clocks in at 4%, which I guess means you can drink it all day.
4.1.
Well, there you go.
It's not even noon, Glenn, so this is the best place to start.
Absolutely. We're the Conshohocken Brewing Company in King of Prussia. Okay, the beer festival season is here. Last year, this area, the metropolitan area, had 24 beer festivals between April and October. Probably going to be more this year. Let's talk about how to navigate a beer festival. We'll go back and forth with a couple of tips. What do you got first?
First, I would say don't go on an empty stomach. It's the same thing that I would say if you were headed out for a night where you're going to sample a whole bunch of beers at a new microbrewery. You want to make sure that you have something in your stomach because, of course, that will catch up with you if you don't. And at festivals, as you know, will they have food? Yes. Is it probably overpriced? Maybe. You know, that's the way festivals work. So go with a good solid breakfast in your stomach before you go.
That is a good one. Okay, this is mine. And it's because I know some people can get kind of intimidated going to a beer festival. They're not a beer geek. They're not an authority. Guess what? You belong. Feel like you belong, even if you don't know a porter from a lager. Well, you probably know that, but whatever. Enjoy, feel like you belong. All right, what else you got?
What I like to do is I like to survey the terrain. So when I walk into a festival, most people who are coming in the front door, they start at the tables right by the door and they work their way to the other side of the room. And because they're part of the crowd, they're not getting always to taste everything that they want to. What I do is I walk to the farthest point and kind of look at the table, see the things that I definitely want to make sure to try, mental note to stop there and stop there, but I'll go to the far end and work my way backwards. And that way I avoid the traffic, I get to talk to the guys that are bored waiting for the group to get there.
All right, and I'll give you one more and then we're going to get something else real quick. Talk to the brewers. They love to talk. They are waiting for somebody to ask them about their beer and so on, and just enjoy talk to those people. Now, you hosted a beer festival earlier this year, let me get the name right, the Beer Fest at the German Society of Pennsylvania.
Correct.
And you had roller derby people there and you had all kinds of good things going on there. If somebody wants to host a beer festival, what are one or two tips you would have for that?
Well, there are a couple things that make Beer Fest special, and I would recommend to others who are considering trying to start a new event. One is Beer Fest. One of the things that makes it so distinctive and appealing is it has a very clear purpose. We don't just open the doors and invite every brewer to come in. We have styles that we focus on. So we only showcase Pennsylvania beers that are made in German styles, like lagers and Kolsch's and Weitzens and Bocks. And we invite German importers to bring their German classics as well. So you can actually do an old world, new world comparison. It's really interesting to see a focused range of beers. And I think that's helpful to people. The other thing that I strongly recommend, and I know the beer universe doesn't always do this, but I come from the wine trade where we know that you need to dump out the wine before you move to the next station. There's a culture at beer festivals where if I don't finish what's in my glass, it's a crying shame and I should just do it as a shot before I go to the next station. No, there's a reason there are buckets on the table. It's for you to dump out your beer and move on to the next without having to finish something that isn't your style.
Seems a crying shame, and
It
yet
is,
I
but
understand what you're talking about. Well, our Sam Stafford went to Marnie's Beer Festival. Sam, show us what you got.
Hey Glenn, today we are at the German Society to check out their Philly Beer Fest, so let's go see all the beers that they have inside. I'm here with Hannah Eisen from Zero Day, the brewery. Hannah, where are you guys located?
We are located in Harrisburg. We're right in the heart of Midtown, not very far from the Capitol.
Now, what brings you guys here? What beers are you featuring today?
So this is the Philly German Beer Fest. They love to see lagers here, and we have really leaned hard into the lager game lately. We've been coming to this beer fest for the last 5 years. We're really excited to be able to feature 2 of our favorite lagers here today. We have our Zero Day Lager, which is an amber lager, a traditional amber lager, that we also just released in cans, so you can find it in the area. We also are featuring our Fest beer, which is a traditional Fest lager, which is really fun to be able to serve a Fest lager at a beer fest. Our most popular beer, though, is probably our Mango Habanero Pale Ale. It's called Mango Hab. It's fruited with mangoes and then spiced with habanero peppers, but it's very light and approachable and something that we've kind of become known for. So
I'm here with Tom Keogh, the owner of Yards. First off, I love the outfit.
Thank you. It's the German Beer Festival. You got to dress it.
Exactly. I said you're the owner of Yards, so what beers are you guys featuring here today?
So we have our Loyal Lager and our Long Johns. So a regular lager and a dark lager.
I love it. Obviously, you're right in Philadelphia, so Long John's fits perfect.
Yep.
And you're right in Philadelphia, so you got any Sixers playoffs beers in you?
Absolutely. We're going to support them all the way to the end. And you know what? It's a great time to be a fan of Philadelphia.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Definitely.
Now we're here with Chris Collier, one of the brewers from Liquid Art. You also own it, right?
Yeah, I'm one of the partners, so you got it.
Now, if somebody wanted to go find Liquid Art, where are you guys located?
We are at 9th and Spring Garden, 990 Spring Garden, and we have the Liquid Art Barrel House there. It's our brew pub in Philadelphia. We've been there for about 5 years. Really good food, awesome German beers, and some sour beers as well.
What beers are you featuring here today?
So we have Best Blonde, which is our #1 seller, really easy transition beer from the non-craft world into the craft beer world. And we also have Berliner Blue, which is one of our kettle sour, Berliner Weiss sour ales. And that's kind of what we're known for, some of our sour beers. So we like to showcase that at these kind of events.
Now it is about to get warm out. What are other popular beers that you have?
Yeah, so our watermelon lager is really good. That's a German lager as well, but we hand cut the actual watermelon ourselves, puree it, and we put it into the beer, and it's very unique. A lot of breweries, they'll use extract when it comes to watermelon because it's a tough fruit to use, but yeah, that's how we do it, and it makes a really unique German lager.
Awesome, thanks so much,
Thank
Chris.
you.
Okay, now I'm with Fred Meyer from Susquehanna Brewing Company. Fred, can you tell us what beer brings you out here today?
Well, this is one of my favorite events of the year, the German Beer Fest. I'm so happy for it to be back. Pennsylvania and Philly have such a great lager German beer tradition, so it's nice. We make Munich Helles Golden Cold Lager, brought a Doppelbock down. It's a great winter, like end of the winter festival. It's fantastic.
Out of those, which is your most common, would you say, or the favorite?
I would say our Munich Helles Golden Cold. It's Bavarian beer hall beer. It fits right in down here.
Now, if somebody wanted to go check out the brewery itself, where are you guys located?
Pittston, PA, right between Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, last stop on the Northeast Extension.
Glenn, there were a lot of awesome events and ton of great beer inside. The fun just keeps on going, so we're going to go back inside, and next year you got to be here with me.
Sam, I am sorry I wasn't there. Marnie, next year I'm coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Can't wait to see you there.
When we come back, I'm actually going to go to France, check in with Joe Sixpack. We're at the Conshohocken Brewing Company. By the way, great place for your events. If you've got something that you want to bring people to, this is the place to bring them. You're watching What's Brewing. Hey, it's Glen Macnow here with Andrew Colligan, genius and chief bottle washer at the Conshohocken Brewing Company, here to show us what's hot for 2023.
Our lead dog, Type A IPA, citrus and grapefruit, 7% West Coast IPA.
Love this one. It's coming home with me. What's next?
Life Coach, our hazy IPA, our fastest growing brand, juicy and citrusy, perfect for any hazy IPA.
And very crushable. Keep going.
Ring the Bell, our American lager, crisp, clean, easy drinking, tastes especially good down the gate.
No better way to celebrate a win. And
Backpack beer, our Belgian style wheat, light, refreshing, and approachable. Throw a couple backpacks in your backpack.
I'm gonna go take a hike. Finally,
Mother's Row, our classic ESB, proud to make maybe one of the best English ales in the country. Philly loves an underdog, support your local brewery and watering hole.
it's a beautiful sentiment. All these available at Conshohocken Brewing locations or wherever great beer is sold. I'm joined as always at this time by Joe Sixpack in France. Nice to see you, my friend. All right, kind of interesting news occurred recently when Anheuser-Busch decided to cease operations and lay off the staff of Platform Beer, which was a Cleveland company they had bought up, a craft beer company they had bought up and tried to pass off as their own. How do you want to say it? What does this mean? What's the importance of this?
Well, Platform was a legitimate brewery. It had tap houses in Cleveland. It was very popular, was innovative. And yeah, Anheuser-Busch had bought it, and now they've shut it down. They're going to continue making the beer at one of its other breweries. And this comes at the same time that it has been announcing cutbacks at a variety of other small breweries that it has purchased over the years, including Blue Point, Devil's Backbone, Wicked Weed, and notably Goose Island. So there's it sends a shiver down the beer industry, I think, because the biggest beer company in the world is finally, it appears, it does not have very much faith in the growth of craft beer at this point.
All right, let's dive into this a little bit because a lot of our viewers may not know that Anheuser-Busch is even involved in craft beers. As I understand it, I've talked about it, as craft beer rose and started to take a lot of the market, Anheuser-Busch decided, well, we can't really just, make our own, start from small brewing. So what they did is they started buying it. They're not alone in this, and kind of absorb them and pass them off as their own. Fair way to say it?
Yeah, absolutely. They had this whole craft beer division. They bought up breweries all around the country. And, this was, to me, a rather obvious ploy just to get a piece of the market. Now, though, that, craft beer is faltering. Beer overall is faltering right now because of competition from, these ready-to-drink cocktails and even wine and spirits. And now that it's not turning the profits that they expected, they're just saying, you know what? It's just an investment to us. we don't have anything more in it than money. We certainly don't have any principled reason to own these breweries. So that's just, we're going to start closing them off and selling them. And, frankly, I don't think it's very surprising. It's almost inevitable because, if you look back on it, Budweiser, they never really bought into this whole idea of craft beer, if you ask me. I mean, at the same time they were buying the likes of Goose Island, they were running commercials where they were making fun of craft beer lovers as beer snobs. So, what side do you play in the coin?
So if I understand you correctly, they're getting what they deserve. They're not true believers, so they're getting what they deserve.
Yeah, I believe that's exactly the case. Unfortunately, the people who work at these breweries, the ones who are getting laid off, they're caught in between. So, too bad for you, I guess.
Okay, so it begs the follow-up question of how much of this is a big beer issue and how much of it really reflects what's happening to independent brewers. I got the numbers. Beer was down from 2012 to 2022, 11.8%. That's not good for any part of the business. And I mean, what I'm getting here, what I'm asking you is this troubling for everybody or just the big guys?
I think it is, but I also think that the small guys in general, and this might be a stereotype, but in general, the small brewers are willing to hold on to it because to them it's personal. It's not just a business thing. I know that they're there to make money. They're there to employ people. They're there to run a good business. But they also have that spirit behind it that says I'm going to hang in there, at least for now anyway.
And as part of that, because if you are a craft beer loyalist, once a beer is bought up by a big company, you no longer regard it as a true craft beer. Is it in the mind of beer drinkers that like, oh, now that's owned by Bud, I can't drink that?
I don't think that most beer drinkers know that, but I think, diehards like myself do. I don't think I've bought a Goose Island or a Devil's Backbone since they were bought by Anheuser-Busch because, honestly, I don't want to give my money to AB when I could be giving it to somebody local.
I hear you. All right. Well, we certainly wish the best for the people who work at Platform and everybody in the industry. Joe Sixpack, as always, great to see you. Looks like your apartment's coming along slowly in France, right? Things are okay there?
Yeah, the clutter has begun.
There you go. I'll see you next week, my friend. And we'll be back with more of What's Brewing.
The Valley Forge Tourism and Convention Board is holding its first ever Freedom from Hunger Drive in the spring. We normally hold it in the fall and we'll still be doing that, but we want to help the soup kitchens and food pantries all across Montgomery County recover from exhausting their resources over the holidays and get ready for the summertime when kids won't be in school for free and reduced meals. No one should have to wake up with the burden of worrying if they'll have enough to eat that day. So help us fight hunger together at valleyforge.org/hunger. For the Tourism Board, I'm Rachel Riley.
Hey, welcome back to What's Brewing. We're at the Conshohocken Brewing Company in King of Prussia. I'm Glen Macnow with Marnie Old, beer and wine writer, joined now by head brewer Dan Helson. Dan, let's talk. First of all, let's talk about what we are drinking. I think I got the new version of the Blood Money. What's going on with that this year?
So we just updated the old beer to a newer style. So slightly hazier, a little bit more pillowy, and we got rid of the blood orange.
Yeah.
In favor of a guava, fresh guava.
I'm going to be drinking this all summer.
Yeah,
what about Marnie? What does she got?
I've got your day beer.
Day beer. Yeah. I was just going to say Kolsch style, perfect for the season. It's in line with some of our different lagers and experimenting with some different styles of beer, so German ale yeast.
Right.
And we also did that in collaboration with our friends at Imperial Yeast Company over on Bridge and Harbison Avenue. Their original location is over in Portland, Oregon. So they came in and helped us brew it. They gave us some cool yeast.
And I think people would love to know, why is it that Kolsch, being an ale, tastes so lager-like? Like it has more lager-like characteristics than most. And isn't that more from the temperature rather than the yeast itself?
Absolutely. It's from the temperature that we originally send the beer into the fermenter at, and then much like a lager, we ferment it lower, we bring it up to let it clean itself up a little bit, and then we slowly turn it down, and we let it sit for multiple weeks.
Right.
So Dan, you're the head brewer, so
yes, sir.
I want to know what you're drinking.
Oh, I'm drinking the Irish Red Ale. It's perfect for this time
I love
of year.
an Irish Red.
Yeah,
I do.
So do I. It's not something that everybody does all too often other than March, but it's very enjoyable.
All right, what else is coming up for the season? Tell us some things to look forward to.
So obviously we have Cinco de Mayo is coming up soon, So we have a pre-dressed Mexican lager in a tank right now. It's got a couple more weeks, but that just has a little bit of lime and a little bit of Himalayan sea salt. And then we also have that same version of that beer, but just clean, for people that don't like the lime in their Corona or something like that, you know. What else do we have? The guava, obviously, is for summertime.
Yep.
And
something with Federal Donuts, right?
Oh, yeah. We are also collaborating with Federal Donuts. We don't know exactly what we're doing yet, but it will probably be something along the lines of a pale ale, but maybe because they do different styles of donuts, they're doing like a blueberry donut, they're doing a donut with sumac.
I'll volunteer for that too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I would
and
like
if you
that.
don't, we get a lot of free donuts back here.
All right, and then one other thing that I know I'm very excited about is coming out in the spring, and all Phillies fans are going to love this. We're doing a charity beer with Scott Fransky, Larry Anderson, coming out late April, early May. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say early May.
All right, let's talk about you a little bit, Dan. You're the head brewer here. You've got a very interesting background, which is, well, first of all, you grew up here. Your father was the head arborist for Fairmount Park for years and years.
Fairmount Park, yeah, for
That's
most of my life. Yeah.
And you went to culinary school.
Yes, sir.
Johnson and Wales, up in New England. How did that transfer itself, and what does that bring you? With that background in cooking and food science, what does that bring you as a brewer?
I'd always had a desire to do something with my hands, creating things that's fun, whether it's food or whatever it is. So when I was in college, I started home brewing and things like that with my roommates, and it kind of grew along with my love of cooking. And then it was just, as I got older and I didn't want to work the 13 and 14-hour days anymore and spend time with my wife, it was, what can I do, you know? And I still really love making beer at home.
Wait, you didn't want to spend time with your wife? I'm confused about that.
No, when I did want to.
You didn't want to work 13, 14 hours, wanted to spend time with your wife.
Yes.
Just want to clarify that if she's watching. Yes, go ahead.
My wonderful wife. Yeah.
Wonderful wife. Good work.
So, yeah, I got into that, and I had taken during culinary school a lot of biochemistry classes and a lot of sanitation courses and things. So yeah, I kind of had a good understanding of the order of operations and how things need to be treated. Did some Siebel Institute courses as well out in Chicago. And then just got in and really enjoyed, like I said, just making things with my hands and crafting something long. Baking bread, brewing beer, all that stuff.
All right, Conshohocken Brewing, King of Prussia, as we said, very good for events. There's actually an auditorium here if you want to hold events here. Tell people about the hours when they should come out and enjoy your beers.
So right now we are closed on Mondays, but Tuesday to Thursday, I believe noon to 10 p.m. And then on the weekends, Fridays, Saturdays, we're open, I believe at 11 to 10, and Sundays we're open at noon as well.
Good. You're saying it like you're asking me.
Just about all week.
I'm trusting you
just
on
about
this.
All week.
And a full food menu as well.
I
know, you're back there making the beer. I understand.
Menu,
and by the way, it's great beer.
Great.
And we have enjoyed our time with Marnie. Really enjoyed the time with
Absolutely.
you. You are off to, I'm talking to Marnie here in King of Prussia. You're headed to France tomorrow?
You know, I work in the wine business, Glenn. You know, twist my arm. Sometimes I have to go to France.
Well, good for you. Enjoy all that. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Conshohocken Brewing Company. We'll see you next week on What's Brewing.
What's Brewing is brought to you in part by Monco Maker's Passport. Download your free digital pass and sip your way through Montgomery County. By the Conshohocken Brewing Company, featuring 4 locations and available at beer retailers throughout the tri-state area. By Visit Bucks County. Travel the Bucks County Ale Trail. Get your passport at visitbuckscounty.com. And by support from the Pennsylvania Malt and Brewed Beverage Industry Promotion Board and grant funding from the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board.